Welcome back. I'm Rachel Hansen, and this is Big History. And it's also Flannel Friday. We celebrate Flannel Friday hard around here. I mean, I don't know if you've noticed, but I've been wearing a flannel every day because at this point, I mean, I've kind of just declared for myself every day is Flannel Friday. Why not? I'm excited for our driving question today. We're going to be looking at an interesting question. How did complexity get us to where we are now? Where? First I spelled it kind of like share. How did we get to where we are now? And what did complexity have to do with it? I mean, there are a lot of complex things in the world. Cars, computers, our cell phones, Wi-Fi. Don't even get me started on how does Wi-Fi work? How does it work? I don't know. It blows my mind, right? And when we talk in big history, the universe has become more complex over time. You can kind of think of it like, cookie dough. You mix together all of these ingredients, and as you're mixing them together, flour and sugar and butter and eggs and vanilla, some chocolate chips, you put these things together and they become something new and more complex. This really tasty cookie. But I also kind of like to think of complexity like a card tower. And maybe you can make one at home. I mean, if you got some time on your hands, go get a deck of cards. How high can you stack that tower? The higher you stack the tower, the more complex it becomes, right? You need a strong base. But the higher it gets, the more fragile it gets too. So increasingly complex things are also a lot more fragile. They're prone to fall apart. Which brings us to our word of the day. Thresholds of increasing complexity. Now, thresholds of increasing complexity in our course are probably a lot like the turning points that you study in your other courses. These ingredients, under the right conditions, come together and they form something new and more complex. We like to call those just right conditions Goldilocks conditions, right? Like it's not too hot, it's not too cold, it was just right. And today, you're gonna be heading over to Khan Academy to watch a video. It's gonna introduce you to thresholds of increasing complexity. And while you're watching, I want you to look for the thresholds that Big History uses to mark these significant turning points in the universe's history. So get on over there, write down those thresholds, and then we'll talk when you come back. Hey, welcome back. What'd you think? Kind of neat, right? These threshold moments help us understand how we arrived at where we are now. I mean, they explain how the death of the universe's first stars released the chemical elements. That was a threshold moment. And then eventually that allowed solar systems to form and planets to form, like ours in our solar system. And we look down the line at human history. A big moment in our collective history was the ability to farm, agriculture, where things changed forever. Threshold moments are really important for historians, which is why you historians out there, are going to create some thresholds for our history of the coronavirus pandemic. So in your historian's journal today, I'd like you to construct a timeline and put on that timeline everything that you know about the coronavirus. You might be able to go back to your old journal entries and draw on some of that information, or you might decide to gather some new information and evidence. But mark out these dates and these events, and then identify 4 threshold moments, 4 turning points where something new and complex happens in the story of the coronavirus. And when we talk about scale, another one of our words from this week, you can decide, do you want to look at this thing in terms of the last month, the last 3 or 4 months, 6 months? Are you going to look at it over the course of 10 or 15 years, 100 years, centuries of time? It's up to you. But pick out those 4 moments where something new happens, a turning point that leads to a new complexity. Because after all, you're the historian. This is how we make history. We make it manageable. We make it easier to understand by marking out thresholds. All right, y'all. It's been an awesome week of learning with you. I'm so glad that you're here. And you know, we're just getting started. Next week brings about a whole new set of learning challenges for us. And I hope you'll join us. And maybe, come on, wear your flannel. You've got the whole weekend to get your flannels together. I look forward to seeing you next week, flannel and all. We'll be here, same time, same place. Hope you'll join us. All right, I miss you already. Be good, take care. Bye.